I don't remember how I got there. That's not a figure of speech. I truly have no recollection of crossing the line between everything's fine and something is wrong and I'm not where I belong. My name is Ray, I'm 34, I work in IT, fully remote, and I live alone in a quiet neighborhood where even the mailman knows my name. I've got friends, weekend plans, a mortgage, unresolved issues with my parents, and a mint plant on the kitchen windowsill that I keep watering every evening out of habit, even though it's been dead for months. Everything was routine, familiar. And then I woke up in a place that wasn't mine. Not a hotel, not a hospital, not a prison. A home. Clean, warm, lived in. Someone else's life with my face pasted over it. The furniture looked like something I'd choose, only better arranged. The kitchen had the kind of cookware I always said I'd buy one day. A faint lemon scent lingered in the air. On the fridge were photos of me, or someone who looked like me, smiling with strangers, hugging a woman I didn't recognize, holding a toddler who seemed to know me. The smiles were real, intimate, like memories I never made. There were books on the shelves, mostly titles I owned, but with different notes scribbled in the margins. The handwriting was mine, yet not quite. A little neater, more thoughtful. In the bathroom, a toothbrush, razor, a bottle of cologne with my initials on it. My name was on a mug in the cabinet. My face greeted me from a mirror, looking slightly off, like someone impersonating me perfectly, but without the fatigue and hesitation I'd learned to carry. My first thought was psychotic break. Second, elaborate prank. I tore the place apart looking for hidden cameras or a note that would say, "Gotcha." But everything was seamless. The laptop on the desk booted with my credentials, my desktop background, my files. Except some of those files I'd never written, but they had my voice. Emails from colleagues I didn't recognize, referencing meetings I'd supposedly led, a calendar filled with structured, balanced tasks. A life that worked. I stepped outside. The air was crisp. Streets almost familiar, like a dream version of my city. Cleaner, quieter, renamed. My local gas station was now something called Whispering Cross Market. A kid on a bike waved at me and shouted a name that wasn't Ray, but I turned anyway. He laughed like he knew me. I tried to blend in. For 3 days, I lived that version of my life. Ate food from a stocked fridge, read books halfway through with notes that felt eerily familiar, walked streets that remembered me. No one questioned me. I was recognized, liked, loved, maybe. A barista handed me my coffee before I asked. An old man nodded with respect when I passed. A woman at the grocery store touched my arm and said, "Back already?" before vanishing down another aisle. It wasn't terrifying. That was the worst part. It was peaceful, as if someone had fixed all the sharp edges in my life and laid them out in a softer pattern. I could have stayed. I started to want to. But on the 4th day, I found a key. It was in the back of the desk drawer under a loose panel. Cold, metallic, simple. The head of it was carved with a spiral. Tight, precise, like a fingerprint folding inward. I didn't remember seeing a door it would belong to, until I did. Right outside the bedroom, where there had been only a blank wall before, stood a door. Wooden. Old. Handle warm to the touch. The spiral engraved into the knob matched the key exactly. I hesitated, heart pounding. Not from fear, but anticipation. Like I was about to awaken from the most vivid dream of my life. I unlocked it, and I was home. Just like that. Back in my apartment. Mint plant dead on the sill. Browser still open to an unfinished code snippet. Phone buzzing with missed notifications. As if I'd never left. Except I had. And the worst part, a piece of me stayed behind. Or maybe something came with me. I can't stop thinking about that place. Not in nostalgia. In hunger. Like I left something vital there. Like I tasted a version of life that made sense, and now everything else feels faded, wrong, lesser. It didn't take long before I started seeing the spiral again. In condensation on the bathroom mirror. In the way my spilled coffee pooled on the table. in the knots of my dreams. I told myself it was nothing. Residual anxiety. A symptom of whatever breakdown this was. Then, last night, I saw the door again. Not the same one exactly, but in the same place. Between my hallway and the kitchen, where there is and has only ever been a blank wall. But there it stood, wooden and waiting, handle cold now. Spiral glinting in the dark. I didn't open it, but I stood there for hours. I told myself I wouldn't open it. That was the rule. I stood there for hours, watching the door from across the kitchen like it was some predatory animal. And just like with a wild thing, I knew. If I turned my back, it would move. So I watched. It didn't move, but it waited. When morning came and the light washed over it, I blinked, and it was gone. Wall again. As blank and unbothered as ever. No crack in the drywall, no hinges, no evidence that anything had ever been there. I started laughing. A dry, humorless sound that tasted like dust. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe I never left in the first place. Maybe the better life was just a dream. But something had shifted. That night, and every night after, I began to hear things in the walls. Not footsteps, not quite. It was more like breathing, not heavy or threatening, gentle, patient, almost syncing with mine until I caught myself inhaling just a split second after the walls did. Like I wasn't leading the rhythm anymore. The dreams got worse. Not nightmares exactly. Those have structure. These were more like emotional floods, moments with no context, only feeling. I'd wake up remembering the taste of honey and tea I've never drunk, the smell of someone's skin against my cheek, the press of a child's hand against my palm. I'd cry without knowing why. I'd laugh like I'd remembered something profound, only to forget it seconds later. During the day, I saw people looking at me strangely, not in fear, in recognition. The mailman called me Ron. A neighbor I'd barely spoken to stopped me and asked how my wife was recovering from the accident. I said I didn't have a wife. He blinked, "That's not funny, man," and walked off. One morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, heart pounding. When I listened to the message, my spine stiffened. There was no voice, just a sound, breathing, in sync with mine. I didn't answer the next 10 calls. It all came to a head last Thursday. I'd spent most of the evening trying to stay awake. Not out of fear, but out of reluctance. I didn't want to go back there, even in dreams. I knew that each time I did, it'd be harder to return. My apartment, once my sanctuary, had started to feel like the waiting room of a life I wasn't living anymore. I didn't belong in either place now. I was untethered. I passed out around 2 a.m., face down on the couch. And when I opened my eyes, I was back in that other apartment. It was the same as before. Perfect. Peaceful. But this time, I knew better. This time, I wasn't just confused. I was aware. And that awareness made everything feel brittle, like glass stretched too thin. There was a note on the kitchen table. Just a folded sheet of paper with my name written in script I didn't recognize. I didn't want to open it, but I had to. My hands were shaking. Inside, it said, "The more you return, the more you forget. Choose soon." No signature, no other message, just that. I ran to the bathroom mirror and stared. The face staring back was still mine. But my eyes weren't the same. Something in them had dimmed, or maybe deepened. Like I had looked at something infinite and now couldn't pretend to be small again. I splashed water on my face, took a deep breath, and I tried to remember my life. Not the better one. The original. Where did I work? Who were my friends? What day was it? Nothing came fast. It was like trying to recall a dream that someone else had. I sat on the floor, trying to recite my own address, and couldn't get past the street name. Even that felt wrong in my mouth, like speaking a foreign language I used to know. That's when I panicked. I tore through the apartment looking for the spiral key. I knew it would be there. It had to be, because if I didn't get out now, I wouldn't leave at all. This time, the desk drawer didn't open. It was sealed shut no matter how hard I yanked. I tried breaking it with a chair. It didn't even splinter. I screamed, kicked, begged. Nothing. And then I noticed the spiral again. On the window pane, etched into the condensation from my breath. I wiped it away, and through the fogged glass, I saw myself. Outside, standing across the street. Same face, same clothes, same tired eyes. Watching me and smiling. I didn't move at first, just stared at the version of me standing across the street. He didn't wave. He didn't blink. He just smiled, like he was proud of something. Or maybe satisfied, like a man watching the last piece of a puzzle slide into place. Then he turned and walked away. I pressed my hand to the cold glass, my breath fogging it up again. The spiral reappeared. No matter how many times I wiped it away, it kept reforming, subtly etched into the condensation like it was part of the glass itself. Like the spiral wasn't just following me, it was inside me now. A pattern laid into my bones. When I turned around, the door was back. Same wood, same handle, same keyhole. But the key wasn't in my pocket. It wasn't anywhere. I sat in front of the door for what felt like hours. I didn't sleep. I didn't move. I just stared, hoping it would open on its own, or never open again. The message on the note kept echoing in my head. The more you return, the more you forget. Choose soon. I didn't choose. I passed out again. And this time, when I woke up, I wasn't sure if I was home or not. Everything looked familiar. My real apartment, the dead mint plant, the dent in the drywall from when I tripped over the laundry basket last winter. But something felt off, like it was all built from memory, not matter. Like someone had reconstructed my life from blueprints they didn't fully understand. I checked the books on my shelf. Titles were correct, authors too. But when I opened them, the words inside were scrambled. Not gibberish, but just wrong. Familiar phrases in strange places. Whole paragraphs I could almost recall, but twisted, as if someone had edited my memories without permission. Then I looked in the mirror, and it wasn't just my eyes anymore. My left cheek had a scar, small, just below the cheekbone, that I'd never had before. When I touched it, I flinched. It hurt. It was real. It didn't fade or vanish. I don't know how long I stood there, turning my face in the light, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. That's when I realized something else. I couldn't remember my own mother's voice. Not a word of it. Not a single syllable. I remembered the idea of her. Her silhouette in the kitchen, her laughter from another room. But her actual voice? Gone. Like someone had muted her in my memory. I started to panic. I opened my phone's photo gallery. All the pictures were there. At least the thumbnails were. But when I tapped them open, the images inside flickered. Faces blurred. My own face was in all of them, but always from behind, or in profile, or in places I didn't remember visiting. I tried calling someone, anyone. First, Sam, my best friend since college. No answer. Then Katie, my co-worker, the one who always picked up on the first ring, no matter what. Voicemail. I tried 20 numbers. All went to voicemail, or worse, straight to a busy tone. My phone had full bars. Wi-Fi was connected, but no one was reachable. No one existed beyond the edges of my apartment. And then it rang. Unknown number. Again. I picked up this time, and I heard it again. Breathing. But not just breathing. This time, I heard my own voice whispering, slowly and softly, "You are almost ready." Click. The call ended. No trace in my call log. Nothing in voicemail. Like it hadn't happened. I think that's when I started losing time. I'd blink and find myself in another room. Lights on that I didn't remember turning on. Dishes cleaned that I hadn't touched. I'd walk into the kitchen and find food on the stove, still warm. I'd wake up in the bathtub with all my clothes on, shivering, the water cold around me. Once, I found writing on the bathroom mirror in that same spiral pattern. Let go. He knows how to live better than you. I'm not alone in my own body anymore. That's the only explanation. Someone, something, is wearing me like a costume, taking me out for test drives when I sleep, using me to live a better version of my life, one perfect decision at a time. And I think I know who. That man I saw across the street, me, but not me. The version from the other world, the better world. He's slipping into this one, and I think I'm slipping into his. I've started forgetting more. Things I should never forget. My birthday, my own handwriting, the lyrics to songs I used to love. They vanish like smoke, and in their place, I get flashes, memories that aren't mine. A wedding on a beach I've never been to. A baby girl with green eyes calling me daddy. A dog I don't own jumping into a lake. Memories so rich, so full, they make my real life feel like a shadow. The spiral isn't just a symbol, it's a map, and I think I'm halfway through it. I woke up in the hallway, face pressed against the cool hardwood floor. I didn't remember falling asleep, or lying down, or moving there at all. It wasn't just sleepwalking anymore. It was as if entire sections of my life were being overwritten like tape. Whole hours gone, not just forgotten, but replaced. And in their place, new fragments appeared, crisp and too vivid. I remembered the smell of someone's perfume, jasmine and vanilla, so strong I could almost feel her arms around me. But there was no her. There was no Jasmine. Just my empty apartment and a sense of wrongness sinking deeper by the hour. I crawled to the mirror. My scar was darker now. Longer. I touched it again, gently. It didn't hurt anymore. It felt familiar. Like I'd had it for years. Like it belonged. I stood there for a long time, trying to remember what my life used to be like before the spiral, before the dreams. But the harder I tried, the more it slipped away, like looking at your reflection in moving water. Every attempt to hold it still only distorted it further. I don't know what day it is anymore. I used to keep a calendar on the fridge. Notes, reminders, birthdays. I walked over to check it and froze. It was filled out. Every square. My handwriting, but not mine. Neater. More deliberate. With appointments I didn't recognize. Dentist at 9 a.m. Dinner with Lauren. Call Dad back. I hadn't spoken to my father in years. I didn't even remember why. In the bottom right corner of the calendar was a word written in bold ink. Merge. Underlined 3 times. I ripped the page down, heart hammering. I didn't put it there. At least, I don't think I did. I checked the phone again. Contacts had changed. People I didn't know. Favorites list replaced with names like Coach, Ella, Work, Mom. I tapped one almost by accident. Mom. It rang, and she answered. Sweetheart, she said, everything okay? You sound far. Her voice was soft, familiar in a way that made my knees buckle. Tears filled my eyes before I could stop them. Who are you? I whispered. She paused. I'm your mother, baby. What's wrong? You're scaring me. I didn't answer. My throat closed. I felt like I was suffocating. And then she said, It's happening, isn't it? Silence. I tried to stop it when it started happening to me, she said, her voice trembling now. I didn't want to lose myself either. But the spiral doesn't take. It trades. Click. The call ended. I stared at the phone, the screen slowly fading to black. My reflection appeared again, warped in the glossy glass. But for a second, it smiled at me. Not the way I smiled. A different expression altogether. There are things I'm remembering now that I wish I wasn't, like the first time I drew the spiral. I was 7, using a crayon on the back of a menu at a diner. My parents were fighting. I tuned them out, focusing on the curve, the infinite loop inward. I kept drawing it over and over. I didn't know why, just that it felt good, like I was remembering something, or like I was being remembered. And now the spiral appears on its own, in coffee rings, in frost, in the steam on the shower glass. I don't even flinch anymore. It's like it's been with me forever, hiding in plain sight. I think maybe it has. Tonight, I caught my reflection watching me again. It moved before I did. just for a second. I blinked, and it corrected itself, but I saw it. It was rehearsing me, learning the muscle memory. And it's getting better. I think I'm going to forget how to be me soon. I sat down with a notebook earlier, the one I used to journal in back when things made sense, and I tried to write down everything I could remember about my old life. I filled 2 pages. Then I turned the page and wrote another name, a different life, different parents, different apartment, a golden retriever named Suki. I filled 10 pages before I realized what I was doing, and the terrifying thing is, it felt right. It flowed, effortless, like opening a locked drawer and finding everything exactly where it should be. And now, I don't know which life is the dream. Maybe neither is, maybe both are, or maybe they're the same life seen from different ends of the spiral. There's something in the walls again tonight, not breathing, talking, not in words I know. It sounds like backward speech or whale song or code, but it's constant, a rhythm, like it's coaxing something out of me or into me. The door hasn't returned in days. I think that means the decision is being made for me now. If this is my final chance to choose, I don't know what I'll do. Stay in a life that barely feels real, or fall into one that isn't mine, but feels like it should be. I tried not to sleep. I thought if I stayed awake long enough, I could stop the memories from shifting again, keep a grip on what was real. I chugged coffee, paced the apartment, slapped myself across the face when my eyelids drooped. It worked for a while, but the spiral doesn't wait. At some point, I must have dozed off, just for a second. And when I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was him, the other me, wearing his body like a glove. I stood in a room that looked like mine, but cleaner, brighter. Same furniture, different energy. The plants were alive. The fridge was stocked. And on the wall, where the calendar used to hang, was a photograph in a sleek black frame. Me, smiling, standing on a cliff next to a woman I didn't recognize, wind in her hair, hand in mine. I turned. She was in the kitchen, humming a tune I almost remembered. When she saw me, her face lit up. "There you are," she said, walking over and kissing my cheek. "Everything okay?" I wanted to scream, wanted to grab her by the shoulders and say, "I don't belong here. I don't know you. I'm not him." But instead, I smiled back and said, "Yeah, just tired." She hugged me. I didn't hug back, not at first, but slowly, as I felt the warmth of her arms around me, I did, and it felt right. It felt so right, too right. When she left the room, I stumbled into the bathroom, stared at my reflection. Same face, but without the scar. Clear eyes, steady hands, stronger jawline. A version of me untouched by fear or regret. The door was there too, in the same spot it always is. Same keyhole, no key. But something was different. I could feel someone watching me from the other side. I pressed my hand to it, and something pressed back. That was this morning. Now I'm back here, in my real apartment, in my broken life. The one with the empty fridge, dead mint plant, and faded dreams. And I'm starting to think I made a mistake by coming back. The other me wants out. I don't mean metaphorically. He's trying to cross over, permanently. He's been studying me, learning me. Every movement, every phrase, every scar. I can feel him watching through the mirrors now, not just copying, anticipating. The worst part? Sometimes he feels like the real me. I keep catching myself doing things I don't remember starting, organizing books, humming that same tune she sang, making coffee just the way he did. My hands remember. My body remembers, even if my mind resists. Today, I found myself signing my name wrong. It wasn't my name, not exactly. It was a version of it. Same first name, different middle. A surname I'd never used. I looked it up, and it exists. There's a man online with my face. That name, that job. Married, kids, a public LinkedIn profile full of achievements I've never had. He's real, and I think I think he's taking over. The mirror in my hallway is cracked now. I don't remember breaking it, but every shard shows a different version of me. All slightly wrong, some older, some smiling. One of them bled from the eyes and never blinked. The spiral shows up more often now, not just in the apartment, outside too. Sidewalk chalk, coffee foam, traffic patterns, storm clouds. It's in everything. I don't know how much longer I have. Last night, I found another note slipped under the door. Same handwriting. Just 4 words. Trade is almost complete. I burned it, but the ashes curled in spiral shapes before disintegrating. I think he's going to make the choice for me. And I'm terrified that, deep down, I want him to. Because his life is better. Because his world is warmer. Because the spiral doesn't just pull. It seduces. It happened sometime around 3:17 a.m. I know because every single clock in my apartment, analog, digital, microwave, all blinked that same time at me when I came to. 3:17. Frozen. Unmoving. Like time itself took a breath and held it. I woke up on the floor again. Not groggy, just hollow. There was blood on my hands. I rushed to the bathroom, flipped on the light, and found nothing wrong. No wounds, no pain. Not mine, at least. But it was there, unmistakably. Between my fingers, under my nails, warm, sticky, metallic, and in the mirror. My reflection was gone. Gone. Not delayed, not lagging, just not there. The room was reflected. The sink, the door behind me, but not me. I waved my arms like an idiot, spun in place, tried to trick it into showing itself. Nothing. Then I saw the message, faintly written in the condensation on the mirror, like someone had breathed it there from the other side. Thank you. I don't remember screaming, but I must have, because my throat was raw for hours afterward. That was 2 nights ago, and things haven't gone back to normal since. Not even wrong normal. We're past that now. We're somewhere else. People don't look at me the same anymore. The barista at the corner cafe, the one who always remembered my name and order, stared at me like I was a stranger. Said nothing. Just handed me my drink without making eye contact. When I said thanks, she flinched. I walked past my neighbor, James, the older guy with the Boston Terrier. He nodded at me. But then he looked again, like a second glance exposed something the first hadn't, and he grabbed his dog's leash tight, muttering something under his breath. I'm still me, aren't I? I've been filming myself while I sleep, not for vanity, just to see. The footage isn't clear, mostly shadows, the grainy kind that glitches just when things get interesting. But last night, I caught something. Around 3:17 again, I sat up. Only I didn't. The me in the bed didn't move like I move. He twitched his head too sharply, sat up too fast, walked like his joints were new, like he was learning them, like a puppet remembering its strings. And worst of all, he smiled into the camera, like he knew I'd be watching. I don't sleep in my bedroom anymore, but it doesn't help. The spiral is in me now. I feel it when I close my eyes. That slow coil, that downward tug behind my forehead. Not pain exactly, not even pressure, just motion, like my mind is spinning even when I'm still. Sometimes I feel my thoughts slipping away in spirals too, looping, overlapping, collapsing into themselves. A memory of a memory of a memory. I don't think I'm alone in here anymore. He's in my head, whispering. It's not words, more like sensations, like someone pressing on an old bruise from the inside. I feel him nudging me when I speak, correcting my posture, adjusting my grip on the pen. He likes to write. I think that's how he started. Through the words, through the spiral sketches. Every one I drew was an invitation. A little yes. And now, he's writing me. Today, I got a letter in the mail. No stamp, no return address. Just my name in large looping cursive. Inside was a single page. White, clean. The words read, I'll take care of everything. You can rest now. I stared at it for a long time, and I cried. Not because I was scared, but because I wanted to. I wanted to let go. I wanted to stop carrying this broken life. Stop remembering what I'd lost. Stop clawing at the edges of a reality that didn't want me anymore. But that's how it works, isn't it? That's how he wins. He doesn't steal your body by force. He just waits until you hand it over. I left my apartment for the first time in days. Not for groceries, not for air. I needed to see if the world was still there, if it was still mine. The city looked the same, but everything felt off by 1 degree. The colors too vivid, faces too smooth, people walking just a little too rhythmically, like extras in a dream you forgot you were dreaming. I passed a store window and caught my reflection. He was smiling again. That thing in the glass, the other me, has grown bolder. He doesn't copy anymore. He proceeds. When I glance at him, his head is already tilted. His mouth is already mid-sentence. Sometimes he mouths words I haven't spoken yet. And sometimes he doesn't mouth words at all. He screams. I can't hear it, but I see the shape of it. Mouth open too wide, eyes black. It lasts less than a second, a flicker, but the image burns into me every time. I'm starting to wonder if I ever had a life before this. If maybe he was the original, and I'm the intruder. That would explain the spiral. It doesn't just drag you in, it replaces you, unwinds you, like a tape recording that gets taped over again and again until all that's left is static and ghosts of the original track. Last night, I dug through all my old journals. They're not mine. Same handwriting, same notebooks, but the memories, they don't belong to me. I remember writing them, but I also know they didn't happen. Not to me. One entry described a trip to Iceland, ice caves, blue light, a man whispering at the bottom of a glacier. But I've never left the country. Another talked about my sister. I don't have a sister, but I can see her now when I close my eyes. Auburn hair, freckles, a gap in her front teeth. I can hear her laugh. I can feel what it was like to lose her. I think I inherited his grief, or maybe he inherited mine. That's when I realized this isn't possession. It's convergence. Two versions of a life being pulled together by the spiral, forced to coexist until one absorbs the other. And I think we're reaching the point of no return. Tonight, I found something under my bed. A box I don't remember placing there. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Some familiar, some not. All of me, or him, or both. Sometimes alone, sometimes with people I don't recognize. One photo was taken in front of a lighthouse I've never visited, but I knew exactly how the inside smelled. Salt and dust and wet stone. My hand in someone else's, camera held at arm's length. The caption on the back read, "Last day before the spiral." Another showed me, tied to a chair. Eyes wide, mouth sewn shut. The date in the corner was tomorrow. I dropped the box, left everything scattered on the floor. I should have burned it. I should have run, but I didn't. Because there's something else now. A third presence. Not me, not him. Something older. The spiral isn't just a symbol, it's a door, a mouth. And once it opens far enough, something comes through. I've seen it in dreams, or not dreams. Places between sleep and waking. A tall shape, no face. Just endless spirals spinning where its head should be. It doesn't walk, it glides. It whispers in frequencies, not language. When it touches you, you unravel, memory by memory, until you forget how to breathe. I think he made a deal with it. The other me. He wanted a better life, a cleaner version. So he opened the door, drew the spirals, invited it in. And now it wants balance. One version must stay. One must feed the spiral. I don't know which one I am anymore, but I feel the choice approaching. Every minute, I slip more. He gains ground. His voice bleeds into mine when I speak. My hands twitch in rhythms I don't control. And now, even this journal, even these words, I don't know if I'm writing them to remember, or if he's writing them to erase me. I don't know if I'm writing this for you, or for me, or for him. Maybe all three, maybe none. It's been 3 nights since I last slept. I think time moves strangely now. Clocks still tick, but I can't trust the rhythm. The sun rises, but it casts the wrong shadows. Sometimes I blink and the room has shifted. Furniture reversed. Coffee cold before I sip. Messages on my phone I don't remember sending or receiving. There was one this morning. Are you ready? No number, no contact, just those words. I answered yes. I don't remember typing it, but it was sent. The spiral is everywhere now, not just in chalk, coffee, clouds. It's in people. I saw a man on the train drawing one slowly into his palm with a pen, over and over until his skin broke. A woman in the park spinning in tight circles, humming a melody with no rhythm. They're not looking at the world anymore. They're looking through it, just like me. And here's the truth I've come to accept. This has happened before. Not just to me, to others, maybe to everyone, at some point. The spiral is an old language, a doorway language, a trigger pattern. Once you see it, it sees you. And once it sees you, the loop begins. A trial, a trade, a transformation. You start noticing the other you, in mirrors, in dreams, in thoughts you don't remember forming. And if you resist, it fights. But if you accept, you become. Tonight's the last night. The apartment is quiet, humming low, like it's alive. Every light casts double shadows. I can see him now, even when I'm not near a mirror. He stands just behind the edge of my vision, grinning, wearing my skin like it fits better on him. He's waiting for me to say the words, to say I'm tired, to say I'm done. And honestly, I am. But here's the twist he didn't expect. I'm not going quietly. I found the spiral's center, not just the symbol, the real one, the place inside me where this all began. The moment I let him in, the choice I made in some fractured layer of sleep, where he offered a better life and I said yes without knowing what it would cost. But now I do know. He can't erase me if I erase the spiral. So I've drawn a new one, backwards, a counter pattern, a reverse circuit. It's on the walls now, on the floor, on my skin. I've written it into my blood, and I'm going to meet him in the mirror, not to trade, not to submit, but to merge, to become something neither of us were, a third version, a fusion. Me with his confidence, him with my pain. Something new, something stronger. I've set the candles, broken the glass, stepped into the center of the spiral, and there he is, in the mirror, naked, familiar, waiting, smiling. He lifts his hand. I lift mine. He opens his mouth. I do too. And together, we say it. I remember who we are. The mirror shatters, not into shards, but into pieces of time. Memories spill out. Childhood laughter, first heartbreak, the taste of rain, the last breath of a loved one, the sound of a decision being made. All of it spills into the spiral. All of it becomes us. And in that moment, just for a second, there's no fear. Only clarity, only silence, only completion. When I wake up, if I wake up, I won't be who I was. I won't be who he was either. I'll be what the spiral made, what it always meant to make, a singular version, a perfected self. And if you're reading this, you've already seen it too, haven't you? The symbol, the door, the other you. So let me ask you, do you feel the pull?